We're going to spend some time with sketchbooking, which is just as it says. One uses a sketchbook. I like to have some small ones around. I have actually various sizes. I have one that's this size that I take, and sketchbooking is really just a way of taking notes like you would take notes in a lecture or something like that, only it's visual. It's writing down or marking down visually what you see. And like notes you would take in a class, they're not meant for publication. They're not really meant for anybody to see. You're sort of like your own personal diary. I have an array here of still life. Of course, there are people who love to sketch outside plein air, and I have done that. It's good for me. It stretches my skills and interest a little bit, but I am not a plein air painter or a landscape painter, so that is purely for stretching my abilities. Inside, of course, all year round, no matter what the weather is, you can always set some interesting objects up that you have around the house or have collected and practice drawing. I also have a little pack here that I got from AARP that I crossed out, and I keep this as my travel pack. So I always have my little sketchbook in here. I have some pencils and some erasers so that when I travel, I can always grab this and I have my equipment handy, because you never know when you're going to see something that you would really like to just get down visually. So if I were going to do a little sketching, and I'm holding this out in front of the camera so it's a little awkward, but if I were going to, for instance, do a sketch of the vase there, I would want to, as we've talked about, I would want to get the big shapes down first. And I'm eyeballing this, which is another way of saying I'm not doing any formal measuring. And that's a scary process. The first time you take that leap, or even the second time or the third time, into not doing any formal measuring, either like this or with a ruler if you're copying a printed image. But so it's awkward at first. It feels very insecure, but I have discovered, and I think other people will testify to this, that it is truly one of those things, the more you do, the better you get. I know for a fact that I'm not as good as some, but I am much better than I used to be. Simply because I have pushed myself to do sketching in a sketchbook from time to time. So what I'm wanting to do is get the basic idea down here, especially if this were something outside, or if I was sketching someone on the train and they're going to get up and leave at their stop, which they usually do, or I have to get up and leave at my stop. I would want to get down as much information and as in abbreviated form as possible, because later I might be able to build on that if I got enough down. So I'm really going for the big shapes, maybe some big planes, some tone. And that might be all I do. And again, this is not something I'm going to frame. It's not something I'm going to put in a show. I have a bunch of sketches in here that I am not going to show you because they were purely for my own reference, and they are not necessarily beautiful to look at. I might even stop there and do something else, because every new shape, and I'm not even going to turn the page, every new shape that I try gives me different contours, angles, and planes to assess. And the more quickly, the more abbreviated I do it, the more I force myself to look quickly and try to take in the most important aspects of the object that I'm looking at. So I'm not worried that it's accurate. I'm not worried that the proportions are a little off, which these definitely are. But the other thing that's fun about this is that the more I do it, the more I see. And I haven't drawn these binoculars for a long time. They're just wonderful. They're, I don't know, probably 100 years old, and their shapes are so interesting. And even as I'm doing it now, I'm thinking, wow, I think based on this little sketch experience, I would like to really sit down and do a serious study of these. And I'm inspired by that just simply by this very quick sketch. So sketchbooking has a number of functions. One, just for fun and for exercising the brain in seeing shapes like you would do your scales on a piano, or your stretches that a ballet dancer does every time before they, oops, you can't see, before they dance. Or it might be a preliminary to doing a larger work and wanting to get down in a place that it doesn't really matter where the problems are going to be, where the things are going to be difficult to assess, so that I can anticipate that when I go on to a larger work.